Hello everyone, good morning and good evening guys. Welcome to Cloud and DevOps batch 57. Before I start the session, I would like to give a quick recap on what's been covered in the previous session. In the previous session, we have discussed the strategy on how are we going to head towards learning things in a approach where we can feel that we are already working. So in that context, how close are we to the market needs is also we have extensively discussed. And then we have seen in order to start your journey on cloud and DevOps, we have also seen the very first thing that you should know is you should learn how to operate Linux. And in order to do that, we should know how to work on Linux. You should learn Linux first. So how can we learn Linux is also something we have discussed. So we can learn Linux either by creating a server on the top of AWS Cloud or on the top of a virtual machine on the top of our machine using Oracle VirtualBox. And we decided to create a server on AWS Cloud, and we would like to proceed from there because that is the most easiest and simplest approach, and which is very much close to the market needs. Okay. Also, we have discussed extensively yesterday in Linux. In Linux, there are 300 plus officially recognized flavors of Linux, and I also told you why there are huge number of open source editions are available on Linux because it's open source. And we also discussed yesterday on what is open source, why open source, and what is the reason why people use open source, and what is licensing, what is subscription is also we have extensively discussed. And also we saw how licensing works versus subscription, and how licensing in Windows works is also something we have extensively discussed. So the Windows operating system licensing is based on the number of CPUs that you're using or the number of users that you're going to create on the top of that. It's not like you use a license, you create a license, not create, you buy a license, it can be used for everything. No. So based on your usage, you need to pay, which is one thing which Microsoft is the one which has introduced that kind of billing, and that's also one of the reason why Microsoft had made good decent money on that. And also we discussed what is open source. In open source, code is open. That means anyone can take the code and they can use it as per their choice. They can also have an option to amend, add it as per the requirement. Anyone who is interested can contribute. Anyone who has taken the code and modified the product and redistributed it should also have to keep their code open. That is the one of the principle in the open source. The code should always be open. That is one thing we have discussed. With that context in mind, we have seen that in Linux we have 300 plus official distributions because of anyone, they can take the code and they can modify it as per their requirement. That is that is quite evident. We have seen with a nice image. And then in Linux, there are majorly two varieties of Linux. You take any flavor of Linux, it would be either from Fedora or Debian. So in Fedora, so Red Hat, you see either a majority of the organizations would either be using Red Hat or CentOS. Okay, either you need to use Red Hat or CentOS. We also discussed what is the prime difference between CentOS and Red Hat. Red Hat is a proprietary, not proprietary, Red Hat is a paid. If you are using it enterprise, you need to pay for them. And if you want support, you need to buy subscription. Whenever you're having any challenges with the operating system, you can reach them. Again, how you approach them, whether you want weekday support or weekend support, and based on that, your support costs would be varying. Like how it's going to affect the way how we are going to buy the subscription. And also whenever, and Red Hat is one of the most popular thing. And the reason why most of the companies uses Red Hat and CentOS is because of the support model. We discussed with a nice classic shoes example. So we buy the shoes which offer better support. The same thing with Red Hat. Red Hat offers you the best support. And I also given you an example in organizations. If there are 1,000 servers, not all the 1,000 servers would be Red Hat. Okay. Again, there would be multiple flavors. You can also use Ubuntu, Red Hat, CentOS, Kali Linux, a lot of things. But in general, I have given an example. If you are having 1,000 servers, out of the 1,000 servers, not everything can be, what do you say, production, because not on Red Hat, because Red Hat at enterprise, you need to buy the subscription. However, CentOS and Red Hat are a copy of it, clone of it. A copy is not a right word, clone of it. So people prefer to go with their production servers or the non-production servers with this, and then rest of the servers with the CentOS, which you don't have to do any sort of changes. Everything is same. All right. So again, I have also clearly mentioned if you want to start this training, what are all needed? As a part of that, we extensively discussed. So you don't have to buy any specific laptop, any laptop just for this purpose. Okay, if you are already having a laptop, you can get started. So any laptop, whether it is Windows, Linux, or Mac, we're gonna use it. And there is no specific configuration that I'm expecting. All I need is that computer should work without any lag, without when you're using something, it should not give you any trouble. Can I use my office laptop? The answer is depends if your organization allows and the tools that we are going to use can be installed. You can proceed. The only couple of tools that we install is VS Code, Git Bash, or Putty. Okay, Putty is to connect to the servers. Okay, all three of them falls under the category of productivity tools. Okay, which almost all the companies uses. Okay, so you can seamlessly use them. Okay, but ensure you're not connected to VPN. Okay, as per the organization policies. So what if I don't have a laptop? I also mentioned just buy a pre-owned laptop. Or so guys, can someone please confirm me, is my audio good or any challenges with my audio? Anyone?
Yes, it's good to me.
I can hear you.
Challenges with my audio? Couple of people reported your audio having some audio breaks. Paul, do you having any audio challenges? If yes, please do reconnect because I'm having a 500 and 400 VPS line. So kindly rejoin or recheck from your end. Okay, I don't see any issues from my end. So yeah. So anyone who are having financial challenges, if they cannot afford a laptop, so you can rent it. Okay, you can rent it for 2 months or 3 months because it's a 2.5 3 months training program. You can always lease it. Okay, and also in yesterday's training we have discussed what is kernel, what is operating system. Linux is not really a operating system. Linux is a kernel, and on the top of it we are going to add things which is going to form an operating system. So if someone says that Linux is an operating system, as a habitual weakness they might say, but it's not really an operating system. It is just a kernel. Kernel is a first layer of any operating system, guys. Okay, so today and another important point, yesterday I was saying that I'm going to create a B57 repository. So yes, the B57 repository is ready. So every one of you would be able to access. Yesterday I have distributed this. I have sent an email. I have sent an text message or WhatsApp message with this. So you can find all of the details here. Right after the session, if you want to access the session recordings, all you need to do is just come here and click on it. You should be able to see all the session recordings here itself. All you need to do is come and try to click on that, and it's going to give you all the session recordings. Okay, you don't have to wait. This is demo and this is session 1, and after the session in 30 to 40 minutes you should be able to see the other session recording as well. All right, guys, this is one thing, and the board that I'm using to demonstrate will also be available here. Anyone can access it. It is public board at this point of time. Down the line, we're gonna make it private, but right now it is a public dashboard. You should also be able to see that from here. And likewise, whatever the notes or whatever the things that we are going to offer, everything will be shared. Yesterday, I have also given us nice small assignment to create an AWS account. So that document also you can find it here, AWS account creation procedure. And few of the people are having challenges with credit or debit card. Yesterday, it came to my attention. So whenever you're not able to make a transaction using your credit or debit card on the top of AWS Cloud, that means there are some international restrictions or some restrictions on your credit card usage. How can we resolve this? Just talk to your bank customer support and ask them that here is the challenge. They should be able to help you. And also when you're creating, please ensure you select you do not have a PAN card. And at the same time, please go with the basic support plan, which is free. Okay, you don't have to go with the developer plan, or you don't have to go with the other plan because I am there to help you. Okay, so we all know if you want to get started and if you want to get started with AWS Cloud, all you need to do is it's very simple. If you want to get started with AWS Cloud, the only expectation is you should be knowing how to operate Linux. And for that to happen, you should know how to use Linux, and for that you should know how to create a server. First you should have a server. So today's goal, let's try to have an agenda. Let's try to have an agenda for today. I'll try to keep things very simple today. Okay, so I want to learn Linux. For that, it's very simple. I would like to create a server on AWS Cloud. Today's goals are very simple. Create a server on on AWS Cloud. And then SSH connect to that server. Okay, so it's very simple. Okay, so that's the agenda for today. And also, what all softwares are we going to install? That's also one thing I want to mention. What all softwares are we? Okay, this is very important. Okay, I'm gonna instruct you when to do what to do. But if you're using Windows computer, okay, here is the stack. Okay, this is widely used to connect to Linux-based machines. PuTTY. The other thing is VS Code. That's it. You don't need anything else. And also Git Bash. Okay, so Git Bash is to give you a terminal. What is a terminal? We'll see that. Okay, so similarly on if you're using a Mac or Windows, Mac or Linux machines. What if I'm using Mac or Linux machines? Okay, things are very simple. You don't have to do anything. All you need to do is install VS Code. Okay, what is a VS Code? We'll see that. Okay, perfect. Okay, today's agenda is quite simple. This is my today's agenda. Okay, so before even I go ahead and try to create a server, let's try to understand a couple of things. Okay, we need to understand in what all places AWS is hosted. Okay, so in what all countries or what all geographical locations AWS is operating. So let's try to understand AWS global infrastructure map. We need to understand. So before we learn anything, we should understand what is the credibility of the product, whether I can use this product or not, whether my company can use this product or not. So you should have all of these things information. I started using AWS Cloud in 2014 and 15. At the time, the number of services or the number of options that you see on AWS and the number of places that AWS operates was very different now with what we have. And that's the reason I always keep on saying, even if you know something, you always need to get up to the date. How can you up to date? How can you update yourself? Okay, how can you be up to the date with the technological aspects? Whatever the technology that you are interested, just try to subscribe to their channels. Everyone posts their nice and interesting updates on the channels. So scroll down. This is the map of a, okay, this is our entire map. And in this map, you can see wherever you see the green balls, that means AWS is operating right now in the entire planet, in our planet. You can see in 33 regions, AWS is operating. Okay. So for example, if you look at this in India, when I started my career, okay, okay, 2015, okay, Mumbai itself is not there. So after a year I started working, Amazon has started its operations in 2016 in Mumbai. Okay, for example, if you look at the South America in the Sao Paulo, you can see it's launched in 2011. For example, if you see this in Australia, it's launched in 2012 in Sydney, and then in 2023, Melbourne. And this is brand new. Okay, when I was teaching last batch, 56th batch, so this was started. And wherever you see red ball, okay, that is coming soon. That means Amazon has decided to create the infrastructure there. They're in the process of laying bricks, or they're in the process of constructing the infrastructure. Okay, and if you see in the Africa, you can see it in the Cape Town. It started in 2020. And in America, in the United States, if you see, there are 6. There are 6 regions Okay, so it's not like region is country. No, in a particular geographical location, they refer it as a region. Okay, so for example, if you look in the United States is known for the highest development. You can see that the highest development projects and highest innovations in the industry of IT, almost all the software's headquarters, everything would be there in America. And at the same time, the utilization of the software and the utilization of the infrastructure is really high. And that's the reason you can see a huge number of regions here. And if you look at this, North Virginia, okay, North Virginia is the first geographical region in AWS which has started its operation. When Amazon has decided to launch this infrastructure business in the form of cloud in 2006, that is the first location that was started. Okay, and what is this availability zone? Okay, what is this availability zone is also something we'll see. You can also see other regions, North California, and you can see Oregon. You can also see government cloud. Okay, this particular region is only for the government organization, Navy, Air Force, Defense. Only for the government organization and government agencies can create their infrastructure, and you won't be having access to create the infrastructure in this particular AWS government cloud in US West. Similarly, they also have another cloud, AWS government cloud region in US East. So in east part of the United States and west part of the United States, they have the regions. But what is this availability zone? We'll talk about soon. That means you're having a lot of places where you can create their infrastructure. Okay, so now, okay, now I want to understand, Manu, we are having these many physical locations, these many regions are there. Where should I create my infrastructure? Is it something, some servers I'll create in India, some servers I'll create in Australia, some servers I'll create in United States? No, it's not like that. So each and every company has their policy. Typically, you need to create the infrastructure close to the place where you're operating. Okay, let's try to understand. Where should I create my infrastructure? Okay, you need to understand that. Where should we create our infrastructure? This is very important. Where should we create, or which? Or which region should I choose? Okay, so where should I create my infrastructure? In which region should I create my infrastructure? That is also very important question. How should I choose? Okay, so this is very important. Okay, it's not a random decision. You should choose, you should select, you should create infrastructure which is close to your business operations. Okay, it should be very, very clear. For example, if your e-commerce company is based out of India, there is no point you create the infrastructure in Australia. Second thing, as per the country, as per the country's data compliance policies. Okay, these two plays a very, very critical role. Okay. For example, again, the same Flipkart example. If Flipkart is a business that is operating in India, it makes sense to create your infrastructure either in Mumbai or Hyderabad or Mumbai and Hyderabad. But it really doesn't make sense to create their infrastructure of their applications in Sydney, right? Because the data has to come here to here. For example, every time you access flipkart.com, you want to buy, you want to make a payment order, across the oceans, the request has to come here, 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 here. Obviously, the latency around the application would be really high. And that's not expected, by the way. And also, each and every country is very serious about how we organize the user data. So it's not like one country's information can be saved in other countries. Okay, each and every country has their GDPR rules, global data protection rules. As per those policy, if your business is operating in India, the customer data or the customer payment data should never ever cross the country. You should store the data, you should organize the data only in the same country. Okay, you don't have the right to save the data on other country. Okay, this is the company's policy, and this is the country's policy, not company's policy. So in the United States, in the European countries, and even in India and other countries, they have the very strong data policies, where as a part of that policy, we are not supposed to save the data of the user in other country apart from where the business is going. So based on that, you need to make a decision. Since the operations are happening in India, we are going to create the infrastructure in India. Okay, for example, if your Amazon.com is based out of United States, so you're going to create the infrastructure in any of the six regions. All right. So that's one thing. So right now, when I have started my career, Amazon has started its operation in 4. I literally have seen 30. From my batch 15 till now, I have seen every batch I have seen, every 2 to 3 batch I have seen the increase of one region. At least alternatively, I have seen the increase in one region. Okay, so I think even in the last batch, there are 5 things which are coming soon. Right now, in Thailand, they are starting their business operation. They are in the phase of constructing. Whenever you see in the news, Amazon has decided to invest $5 billion in Singapore or $10 billion in United States. That means they are investing in the infrastructure, constructing the data centers. You can also see here in the Germany, it is coming soon. In Milan, if you see this, it started in 2020. But here, if you look at Germany, in Germany, it is coming soon. Okay, based on where your operations are going on, you need to select accordingly. Okay, so okay, everything is good. But what is this? I understood what is a region, but what is this zone? What is this zone? So before I proceed, I could see a couple of questions in the chat window. Let's me address them. Perfect. Please post the YouTube link. Ashifa, you don't have to rely on that. So you can come here. I have shared this link with you. All you need to do is just bookmark this. Okay. I just sent the meeting link. I just sent it to everyone. Okay, the GitHub link. I repeat one more time. All you need to do is just come here and click this. You should be able to see all the session recordings together in a single place. Right after the session, you should also be able to see few options here. Okay. Perfect. Let's try to get started. Okay. So, and also in the same window, you can also see the AWS account creation procedure. All we are trying to organize things in a very simplified approach. You don't have to go back and forth to really find where this information is. We'll try to make sure things are very much easy and transparent. All right. Perfect. Let's try to go and try to get that started. Now, what I want to do. Okay. I want to explain what is a region versus what is a zone. Let's try to create a region. Okay, for example, you want to create a region. So for example, you want to create a region. Okay, so region in AWS. Let's try to understand this point. Okay, region in AWS. Okay, for example, if you are creating an infrastructure in Mumbai, so come here and you try to create. So for example, this is a Mumbai region. And you want to create servers here. Okay, for example, I want to create 5 servers. So come here and try to create a server. And in this place, it's not just like your company's infrastructure. Lot of companies, AWS Cloud is a public offering. So obviously hundreds of customers' infrastructure will be hosted on the top of this, right? Okay. So for example, you're having a lot of applications. For example, these are from company X server. Okay. When I say X, it's not Twitter, I don't mean. Okay. Let's assume Y company servers. And likewise, you also have Z company servers. Okay. You are having X company, Y company, Z company servers that are hosted on the top of the AWS region. Okay, fine. Now, what will happen because of some things are good, everything is fine. Now, because of some XYZ reason, let's assume because of some XYZ reason, okay, or some because of some natural calamity, the entire the entire Mumbai region is failed. Now, what will happen to all the infrastructure? Anyone? What will happen to all the customer loads, customer workloads? So Gopi, you need to increase the volume from your end. I'm speaking the same way. So in case if you're having challenges, I sincerely request you to increase the volume on your computer. Gopi, can you please increase your volume on your system computer? All right. And also I have given you the mute and unmute option to everyone who has raised their hand. In case if they want to interrupt or in case if they want to speak, you're open to do that. So feel free to raise your hand and you can get started. So yeah.
At that we, I think at this moment the companies will say the servers were down.
Okay,
Like
perfect.
that,
Perfect. So that means whatever the applications that are running on the top of the servers, everything will be impacted. For example, even on this, if you're running your Flipkart applications like payment, cart, catalog, any such application, payment app, everything would be impacted, right? Okay. So whatever the applications that you're running, everything will be impacted because it's not like server is down. The entire data center is down, right? And that's the reason you don't create infrastructure in a region. Region is just a geographical location. You never do things like this. Okay. It will never be like this. So instead, how it will be? Okay. Let's try to understand this. Okay. We are not going to create infrastructure that way. Okay. So how are we going to create? Let's try to understand that. Okay, so how things are going to be. Okay, so for example, okay, if it's a physical location in Mumbai, for example, if it is a Mumbai region, this is Mumbai region. So it's not like in they construct one big data center in the Mumbai region and they'll host all the infrastructure underneath that. No. So the word region, it coins, it's a physical location of the infrastructure that you are going to host in that particular region. It's a geographical location, not a physical location of the infrastructure. In order to have the better availability, when I say availability, yesterday I have shown you each and every second of availability is important. What if YouTube is down for 10 minutes? What if Google search is down for 10 minutes? How much are ad revenue they'll use, right? So that's the reason they construct the data centers in a very different way. Okay, rather than constructing a big data center in a single place, okay, keeping the availability and all these things in mind, they construct different data centers. Okay, so they constructing a single big data center in a specific location of the Mumbai. They construct in multiple locations and they call it as a availability zone or zone. Okay, so they call it as a availability zone. Okay, so this is availability zone. Okay, so availability zone is a physical location, or you can also coin that term as a data center place. Okay, so they call it as typically it will be organized in three different parts. Okay, for example, in East Mumbai, West Mumbai, North Mumbai. So they choose different locations, which is 200, 300 kilometers or 150, 200 miles away, keeping the latency, keeping the availability, all these things in mind. They'll construct three data centers. Okay, so when I say three data centers, it really means three. All right. Now, Okay, now wherever you want, for example, if you want to create your infrastructure here, you can create. For example, I would like to create 3 servers. So here, okay, you're having a server that is running an application called as cart. Okay, and you also running another workload, payment, and you're also running another application, user, on 3 different servers. Okay, now all of them belongs to the same customer. Okay, let me try to put 3 different colors. Okay, all of them belongs to an application called as Flipkart. Okay, so all the applications are all the 3 servers are hosted in the zone 1. Okay, but they also call it as a, okay, so maybe you can they can call it as East 1A. Okay, so they can give each and every zones one code. Okay, East 1B, and it's East 1C. East 1B, East 1A, and East 1C. Now in this, okay, so Mumbai is a geographical location. In this geographical location, in order to accommodate the natural catastrophe or natural calamities, okay, so what they do is they try to select 3 different places or 5 different places or 6 different places based on the demands in that particular region. They try to create different data centers in different places. Okay, now they coin the terms as availability zone because they are creating in different places to increase the availability of the infrastructure. So in this case, okay, here Flipkart infrastructure is hosted in availability zone 1. Now because of some natural calamity, okay, what if you lose this zone? What will happen to the applications that are running in zone 1? We are having 100 customers, 33 customers are in zone 1, 33 customers are in zone 2, and 33 customers are in zone 3. Now, applications that are hosted by the customers on zone 1 are going to be impacted. Yes or no? How about the applications in the region zone 2 or zone 3? Will they be impacted? Anyone? Anyone who is interested?
No.
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 Definitely no. But how about the applications that are running on zone 2 and zone 3? They run as usual. Okay, they run as usual. But as I mentioned, every second of downtime is very much important. For example, there is a website called as uptime.is. Okay, so uptime.is is one of the nice application which gives you the downtime. For example, if your application is down, okay, if you are selling your product saying that it is up for 99.9% up availability, that means in a month maximum of 43 minutes downtime that you can accommodate. Okay, now if you say your application is 99.99% up, that means you cannot exceed more than 4 minutes 21 seconds of downtime. And if someone says 99.9999% in a month, it can accommodate a maximum of 26 seconds of downtime. But Manu, instead of this aiming for 99, 99.9, 99.99, why can't we aim for 100%? If you are trying to aim to achieve something which is 100%, that is practically not possible. So that means your expectation and your goal itself is wrong. Google is known for building one of the best in class infrastructure. They clearly mentioned. So you cannot achieve 100%. Achieving 100% is not possible. Okay, so yeah, you're trying to build a mobile network, for example, which is 100% up all the time. But can you guarantee that the mobile device that you're working will work 100%? Definitely not. Even if you and likewise, whatever the product that you use, the consumers will also be using the product. Even their infrastructure should support to work for 100%. Okay, so achieving 100% is not possible. So you can also search in the internet. Okay, can Google Plus can See, while we cannot promise 100% uptime, we can say that we'll work extremely hard to get close as much as possible. We hope you never notice this hard work because we are always aiming to solve the problems before they reach you whenever it's possible. Okay, and here also it says why 100% is not attainable. 100% uptime is difficult to provide because of simple everyday IT management issues. Okay, there are always upgrades to install, system overloads, hardware and software issues, system crashes, and other common misshapes that will almost make some amount of downtime. So achieving 100% is practically not possible. Okay, so what percent is considered high availability? Anything between 99 to 100% is very high availability. And if you see what is Google's average uptime, they say Google's average uptime is 99.9% available. Okay, you can also see what is Google search. What is Google search SLA? Okay, I think they don't have that. Yeah, but whatever the principles that I'm talking are something keeping the Google site reliability engineering principles in mind. So whatever the lessons that are learned by Google as a part of implementing the best in class infrastructure in the last 2 decades, 2.5 decades, they have published a lot of blogs. So most of my infrastructure improvements and infrastructure strategies and cloud and DevOps strategies that I'm going to the class would be purely based on it, and which is one of the best practice that almost all the companies follow. Okay, so yeah, okay, achieving 100% is practically not possible. So, but I cannot say if achieving 100% is not possible, I cannot accommodate these kind of failures. What if I should build an infrastructure that should work even in case of one zone failure? Okay, for example, I don't care even if one of the zone fails, but still my application has to work. Then what we do is we create the infrastructure in multiple zones. For example, we are having 3 applications. What I'm gonna do is I'll create a dual for redundancy. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'll create the infrastructure here and here. Now, here in this case, okay, here in this case, if you look at this here, in this case, we have created an infrastructure keeping the zonal failure in mind. Okay, so my application should work at any cost, even if one of the zone fails. I repeat, you are trying to build an infrastructure that is tolerant to one zone failure. Okay, this is tolerant to one zone failure. Apps are okay. What do I mean? Okay, let's try to understand this point clearly. Okay, now in this case, okay, because of some any reason, let's assume you lost this particular zone. Okay, that is very unlikely event. Because of some XYZ reason, you lost this zone. Now what will happen? Anyone? Now in this case, will the application work or not? I'm gonna send a poll. How many of you say will it work or not? You can check the poll. How many of you say will the application will work or will there be any impact in the application? Anyone? Will there be any impact in the application? Will application work seamlessly?
The application will work.
Okay. Guys, please respond to the poll that I have sent. I just sent a poll. You would have got a pop-up.
No.
Can someone please respond?
Mhm.
Perfect.
No good. Yeah.
Okay. Will it work? Will the application work as is, or will there be any impact in the application? Anyone?
There is no impact on application.
No impact.
No impact. Why? So let's wait for the answers. Okay. So yeah, I got 60% of the answers. So 40 more percent, please guys, come on. I want to make sure we are very much clear on what we're talking. Okay, perfect. 85% of the people reported that application will work. That is a correct answer. And 30% of the people, 15% of the people reported that the application will not work. Okay, so guys, this way of building the application is called as building application in a fault tolerant approach. And this is fault tolerant, and this application is tolerant to one zone failure. So if you look at this, okay, whether this zone fails or this zone fails or this zone fails, still the application work. Okay, but you are creating two sets of application. But what if because of the same issue, if the application fails here, if the zone fails in both the zones, will the application work as usual? Will payments work? Now people would be able to add the items to the cart and do a registration, but will they be able to make the payment? Obviously no. How many of you say yes? In this situation, will the application work or not? Anyone? Anyone?
No.
Why?
Because if they cannot,
Because two zones,
well, they cannot make payment. So without payment, what the benefit of the application?
Exactly. Yes. So in this situation, the application will not work because we designed the application keeping to run seamlessly in case of one zone failure, but we didn't build the application to work it in case of the multiple zonal failure. Okay, that means based on how critical your application is, we are going to run the, okay, we are going to build the infrastructure. Okay, so how much money you are making from the application, how much availability you have promised to your users, end users, is something that make us to choose how many replicas or how many zones failure that your application should be accommodating. Okay, so for example, if your company says we are making it's a tier 1 application, or which is a premium application, or the application that is one of the money maker, and this is one of the application that our company makes big money out of it. So we want to make sure we create an application that is zonal failure. Okay, multiple zonal failure. Okay, it says even if it fails in two zones, I want to make sure it should work seamlessly. What should I do for that? Then you need to design the infrastructure likewise. Okay, so in that case, what I am going to do is, let's assume, okay, what I am going to do is, in this case, I'm going to create 3 replicas of cart. Okay. So we have created the application in this way now. Now in this case, even if two zones fail, now here, now because of some XYZ reason, this zone fails. 1 minute, sorry. So here in this case, this zone is failure because of some XYZ reason, and even this zone got failure. Now in this case, what will happen? Will the application work or not?
yes,
Yeah.
it will work.
Application work.
Yes, because we have designed the application based on it's tolerant to two zone failure. But what if if the entire region gets collapsed? That is very unlikely. In that case, you are going to create the similar set of infrastructure in other region and you'll balance the load. So this kind of strategies is something that every business which is serious in making money will do all these things. Companies like Google, YouTube, Facebook, they design the infrastructure keeping these failures in mind, because each and every second is a revenue loss for them. Okay, even in this training, we are going to build the application keeping this fault tolerance in mind. What if zone 1 fails? What if zone 2 fails? Likewise, we are going to do. And that's the reason we call these zones as availability zones. Okay, depending on the region that you choose, okay, for any product to be better available, you should have a minimum 3 replicas or minimum 3 copies. Okay, so 3 is the minimum to have a better availability, and that's the reason you take any any zone. So there is the global infrastructure. You take any region, they have minimum 3. The maximum you see is 6. Okay, in majority of the places you see 3 availability zones, 3 availability zones, right? And if you look at this, there are 3 availability zones in UAE, and if you look here in Tel Aviv, 3 availability zones, and if you look at this, say, okay, Paulo, you can see 3 availability zones. But if you look at North Virginia, you can see 6 availability zones. And North Virginia is one of the very biggest regions of Amazon Cloud in the United States, across the world. They have 6 physical locations, 6 zones. When Amazon has launched this operations of cloud in AWS, that's the first location that Amazon has started, and which has one of the best, which has the best features. I don't say best features, which if Amazon wants to release any feature first, that will be the first region they roll out the feature. Okay, and slowly, step by step, they releases the features to across the other regions. And also, when you compare with other regions, the billing, I feel that Amazon's North Virginia is a little inexpensive, and that's the reason we'll also try to create our infrastructure on this particular region only. Okay, because in training, we all want to learn, keeping the costing perspective in mind. And as I mentioned, throughout the training for the next 2.5 3 months, I'll make sure you'll get less billing, and you should be ready to pay 300 to 400 rupees, not dollars, rupees. And how to do that, what to do that, all these things I'm going to talk. All right, let's try to talk on that. Okay, but if you see, I'm very much clear with what is the region plus what is availability zone. But what is this local zone and what is this wavelength zone? What is this? What is this? Let's try to understand. So typically, this is majorly created a wavelength zone. Okay, the term wavelength subconsciously says that that is something related to some network or some mobile networking or any networking based solution. Yes. So typically you see these wavelength zones in, okay, wavelength zones in United States that is to accommodate the infrastructure of mobile companies. For example, if you look at North Virginia, okay, they see they have 8 availability zones. So these zones, okay, these data centers in particular North Virginia are built to accommodate the applications that are related to the telecom providers. You take telecom providers in United States like Verizon, AT&T, Xfinity, what else? AT&T, Xfinity, Verizon, all these operators also, they have huge amount of the IT infrastructure, right? Even they need certain set of infrastructure that is related to the networking. So such kind of solutions are available on the top of the availability zones. But are these for us? Are these for the regular companies like e-commerce companies? No. Typically, this is constructed, this is honored to host the workloads of the telecom companies, because Verizon, AT&T, Xfinity, these are very big mobile companies. Such companies' infrastructure is going to be hosted on the top of this. For example, yours is an application that is related to networking solution. So your applications can be hosted here on the request basis. Okay, and if you see in other regions, you won't be seeing it. Can you see this? So in the east, they have 5 availability zones. And in the west, okay, in the east part, you have 6 availabilities, 8 availability zones. In the west part, they have 6 availability zones. And if you look in the other places, you don't see. Okay, and I want to say data integrity and data standards that Amazon follows, even the United States believe the certifications that was qualified by AWS. Even the government infrastructure is hosted on AWS Cloud, but it is specifically for AWS Cloud for government agencies on this particular region, but we don't have access to that. All right, clear? Any questions on this? Perfect. I would like to take up questions if anyone has any. Yeah, Saurabh says Comcast. Yeah, thank you. Any other questions, anyone? Let me try to take a minute to address any questions if anyone has. I could see Shiva's hand raised. Yeah, Shiva, would you like to speak? Shiva, Vedant, Naresh. Anyone would like to speak?
Yeah, hi. Can you please
Anyone would
repeat
like to
this?
speak?
Yeah. Can you please repeat this, like between the zones
I
and
can hear you guys. If you would like to speak, go ahead.
yeah. Can you please repeat this, like between the zones as well as which zones or something, right? So what is the difference between those?
Can someone please confirm me? Am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah.
you're audible.
So can you please repeat that? Like, what is the difference between zones and which zones are like only 2 regions contains those zones, right?
All right. And in last 2 to 3 years, okay, so we discussed 3 different terms. Okay, let me try to bring them close to what we learned. Okay, so far we learned what is region versus availability zone versus wavelength zone and local zone. All right, now we learned these 4, but what about the other one? Okay, let's try to understand. Okay, so local zone. So local zones are honored by AWS. I think it's been 2 to 3 years. Okay, they also does the same job what availability zone does. But whenever your sees a data complaint company, okay, where you are processing payments, okay, so always the payment related information should be addressed in a machine that is not shared. Typically on a single machine, on a single physical machine, we run multiple virtual machines. What is a virtual machine? What is a physical machine? We'll see that. But understand, virtual machine is nothing like where it's a small machine, small number of machines that can be created on the top of a physical machine. Okay, on the top of my laptop, I can run 3 instances of Windows. That means each and everything is a virtual machine. Okay, but I want to stress on this. What is this local zone? So local zones are typically created to handle the time sensitive workloads. For example, you take a company called as Big Bazaar. Okay, so for example, in a region like Mumbai, they are having 30 or 50 Big Bazaar supermarkets or some more supermarkets. Okay, now whenever they process the payment, for example, by taking the scanner and they scan the product, immediately it has to go to the application or the database that is hosted on the top of AWS, and then it has to send it back. So if it is per item, the scan and the result is taking 2 seconds of time. What if a customer who comes and buys 100 products, 100 into 2, how much? 200 seconds. That means just to scan, he need to wait in the queue for 3 seconds, 3 minutes, right? What if the scan immediately is scanning in 1/20th of the second, if he's getting the result, right? Then within less than 10 to 15 seconds, he can move out of the queue, right? So so the response is directly dependent to the distance between the supermarket and where their applications are hosted. Okay, in big companies, okay, big supermarkets like Target, Walmart, they have their own data center locally. But local zones are where Amazon is having huge number of customers, where the customer applications are very much time sensitive. What they do is nearby the busy areas, they take some private place and they construct the infrastructure to honor the workloads of the supermarkets or busy applications or the time sensitive applications. So the time travel to go and process would be very, very less. For example, if it is our place, e-commerce application, they construct another region which is close to this. Okay, that is the local zone. Okay, can anyone use this local zone? No, only on the request basis. Okay, you need to enable these local zones. So are local zones available on each and every region? The answer is no. On all the regions, local zones are not there. For example, if you go here, where is that diagram? If you come here in India, we don't have the local zones or the wavelength zones. But if you look in the United States, for the government cloud also, they don't have the local zones. But if you come here in the North Virginia, okay, in the North Virginia, there are 6 availability zones, 14 local zones. But means in the North Virginia, I think North Virginia is a super busy place where they are having huge number of time sensitive applications and customers, and that's the reason they have honored 14 local zones to accommodate such applications. Can anyone create them? Yes, but you need to raise a request to get approval, and then only you can do that. So you know what is a region versus what is availability zone versus what is local zone versus what is wavelength zone. So wavelength zones, in my career, I never worked for any telecom company. I don't know how it works, but at the same time, it's very minimal. You work for a telecom company, but this is specifically designed to honor their workloads. Okay. So without any delay, I would like to create a server. And before that, I would like to take any questions if anyone has. Avinash, Vishwanath, do you guys have any sort of questions?
Yeah, hi, Manu. I just wanted to check, like, is this creation of more
Any
zones?
questions?
Yeah. Are you able to hear me?
All right. I would also
Hi.
see there are no questions.
Hello.
So if you
Yeah.
build the
Hello.
same replica zones, I think we
Hello.
addressed that, Avinash. Costs
Hello.
associated with every infra would be involved. So Avinash, yes, every
Hello.
time you create a brand new
Yes,
infrastructure, your billing is based on the amount of CPU, amount of memory, amount of disk that you have used. However, we are going to talk more about billing in the later point of time. But to answer your question, yes, directly your infrastructure is directly involved with the costing. So yeah,
Okay.
that
And
is
also,
inevitable.
Manu, like,
So you are responsible for the billing associated with that.
yeah. Hi, Manu. Are you able to hear me?
So my goal for today is I would like to create a server. Okay, that's it. That's my goal. So let me try to go ahead and try to create a server. All right, now come here. Okay, I'll ask you another question. Let me try to sign in. So I would like to sign in, come here and I'll try to click a sign in. Okay, so everyone, please click, you do not select the IAM user, select root user. In your case, whatever I assume that you have already created an AWS account. If you have created an AWS account, please use the email address that was used to create the AWS account. And if you have created your AWS account, please enter that and do not choose IAM user. Please choose with root user. Okay, so the term root is something again that came up, okay, from the world of Linux, which is the high priority user or the super user. Just like how you are having an administrator user on the top of Windows machines, which signifies, which is a user with highest privilege in the system. That means that user can do anything on the system. Likewise, in the Linux-based machines, root is a user account, which by default comes up with any operating system of Linux or in any flavor of Linux, which is a super user. That means he has the entire access on the entire system. Whatever he wishes to do, he can do that. Okay, now please select the root user. In organizations, when you join any company, root is not the user that you are going to use. Instead, you are going to use IAM user. What is an IAM user? We'll see when the time comes up. But for now, everyone, please go with the default root option. In case if you have not created an AWS account, please follow the process that was mentioned in the documentation and create that. Okay, and if you are not able to create an AWS account because of the payment issue, whether your payment is not processing, so ensure you get in touch with the bank provider or the provider of the card that you're using and try to get that sorted. Okay. So all it does is it's just gonna cost you ₹2 just to ensure that you're a human user with valid bank details. And the ₹2 that was deducted will also be returned back to you soon. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do is I'll come here, I'll try to enter my password. My password is already entered. So now I'll select done. Now the moment you enter into the server, this is how things looks like. Okay, this is how things look like. And in the top right corner, you have an option called as services. Click on it. These are the list of services that AWS offers. Okay, there are 300 plus services. There are 200 plus services that are offered in Amazon. Okay, so what is a service, by the way? Let's try to understand. What is a service in AWS? Okay, so let's try to understand that. Okay, what is a service in AWS? So the term AWS stands for, okay, So first we need to understand what is AWS. AWS stands for Amazon Web Services. Okay, Amazon has understood the potential of web applications way long back. Okay, Amazon Web Services. Okay, what they meant is we are offering services that can be accessed from web. That means from the browser of your computer, just if you have access to the internet. From the day one itself, I said, so we focus more on applications that are web-based applications. Okay, so Amazon offers services over web. That means over internet. For example, there are lots of services that are offered on AWS. Okay, you want to create a server, you need to use a service called as EC2. EC2 stands for Elastic Cloud Compute. Okay, you want to store your organization's data, you'll use a service called as S3. S3 stands for Simple Secure Storage. Okay, for example, you want to create a database on the top of the AWS code, then you'll use a service called as RDS, stands for Relational Database. Relational Database Service. For example, I want to create a service to run my Java-based application, then you'll use EBS. EBS stands for not EBS, okay, App Engine, EBS, Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, so 1 minute, just a minute. All you need to do is you just need to consume an appropriate service. Any questions, anyone so far? Any questions? I want to take a pause to take up any questions. Questions. Any questions, guys? Can I consider there's no questions? Okay, I'll assume there are no questions. All right. I could see a couple of hands raised. Yeah, go ahead, guys.
Yeah,
Vedant,
I just wanted to, yeah,
Paul,
just wanted to check, like previously
can
you
talk.
mentioned like zones are we creating. So is this directly saying that to the TLS, like number of availability 99.99, if we increase that, will that be achieved?
Avinash, would you like to speak? If you're speaking, I'm not able to hear you.
How about now?
Is anyone speaking?
We are able to hear you,
Can someone
Avinash.
please confirm?
Might be
We are
my
able
check.
to hear Avinash. I guess Manoj is unable to hear.
Yeah, I was trying to ask the same
No, we
question.
previously also we spoke, but he is unable to hear that one.
Oh, is it issue from my end, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. How about now? Guys, you need to unmute. You need to unmute.
No,
We are
we are
unmuting.
unmuting and speaking, Manoj. You are whatever questions we are asking you, just keep on talking from your end.
Oh, okay. All right. So okay. I think I just fixed that. Okay. You shouldn't be having the issue now. How about now? Whatever I'm speaking, you can hear and you can respond back, right?
Yes. Are you
Okay,
able to
perfect.
hear us now?
Yeah,
Yes,
we
I can
can
hear you.
hear you, Manoj, but you can't hear our voice.
Okay, I can
Last
hear
time
you now.
also,
I can hear you now. What's your name? Shiva?
Shiva
Okay.
Kalyani.
Okay, Shiva
Shiva, you
Kalyani.
can call. Yeah.
I can hear you, Shiva, now. Okay, perfect. So yeah, guys, go ahead.
No, I was just checking, like if we increase the number of zones, will the availability like 99.9 which we were claiming, will that be achieved by this or how it is?
Yes, it's not just it's not just based on the number of zones. It also depends on how you configure the applications. For example, you didn't design the application well. Okay, even though you have created infrastructure on 3 different zones to ensure it is available good. So in the infrastructure perspective, you have done a seamless job. Okay, so you have done a very good job. But what if the application that you are running, okay, what if for every 10 minutes once, if it is restarting across the board? Now customers cannot access the application. Agree?
Okay.
Agree? But
Yeah.
what if you have made a new software release of the payment application? That means you released a new version of the payment application and that is having some bugs. And because of that, 1 in every 10 transactions are failing. Now that is an outage. Agree? Now,
Yeah.
and that's the reason you cannot achieve 100% because availability comes through the infrastructure robustness that you are building and the application robustness that you are building. And based on these two, things are going to operate. Okay? Does it make sense now?
Yeah. Thanks, man.
All right, guys.
Manoj, I
Yes.
have a question. So
Yes.
you told like there are local zones and availability zones, right? So if we are creating or hosting any application in local zone and availability zone, there will be any cost difference?
Yes, definitely. Local zones are very costly and that is designed for a specific purpose where your applications where you are having a huge business loads that needs to be addressed by ensuring that the applications are hosted close to the customers. Definitely it's costly solution. Yeah.
So they can do the mismatch also, that they can host both in availability zone and local zone. In that way also they can host the applications.
Everything is achievable, but
Okay.
local zones purpose is to run independently. Okay. And the term it says time sensitive and time and latency sensitive applications. Okay. For
What
example, let
hap-
me give you an
for,
example. Let me give you an example. There is a racetrack. Let's assume this way. There is a racetrack, okay, or a cricket stadium. And nearby the cricket stadium, okay, there are thousands of cameras which capture the entire cricket match. And the entire captured footage has to be sent to some applications that are hosted nearby that has to process. So there won't be no human which says a bowler is bowling the ball. At that time, we need to show the bowler. And after the bowler releases the ball, then I need to show the batsman. And immediately the batsman hits the ball, I need to switch the camera where my camera focuses on ball where which moves from cricket stadium from the batsman to the fourth boundary. After that, a fielder who is running towards the ball should be zoomed out. And which camera has to show? Like you'll have 50, 100 plus cameras, right? Now, what these applications do, these cameras will send the data to the applications that are hosted near the cricket stadium, and these are going to send the application this data is going to be transferred to the applications that are hosted on the nearby local zone, which is going to process the data real time and it's going to broadcast immediately. So in this case, you tell me how much importance the application as a part of the broadcasting. And that's the reason you see when you're talking about the cricket broadcast or cricket live, whatever happens in stadium versus what you see is just 4 or 5 seconds delay. You got the importance? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
And
Thank
earlier in the back end days, if you notice, just outside the cricket stadium, you would have seen a very big generator and along with a very big broadcasting tower right next to it. You would have noticed it. It's not sending the data that it is processing to the nearby telecommunication channel and sending. It immediately gets the data out of the stadium, and outside the cricket stadium itself, you'd see big box, a container, which has the servers to process the data, and then immediately it broadcasts. Right next to it, you'll see a tower as well. I don't know whether you noticed or not. Guys, did you notice any time? Whenever any cricket match or football match happens, right outside you see a very big container along with a big broadcasting tower to broadcast the series. Okay, so in order to address such kind of things at scale, Amazon has constructed or honored the local zones. Okay, guys, clear? Anyone?
Yeah, Manoj.
So, yeah, like local zones will be there in the US only. So if there is any
Yes.
business is running on the India,
Mhm.
so will they systems like they can install their servers on the US only?
No. That's not even the case, right? To give the fast response, you're not going to host your infrastructure somewhere outside the country, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like in this case, in India, there is no busy businesses.
There are busy businesses which can be accommodated. Okay. So do you
Mhm.
really think in India we have Reliance Jio, right? They are offering one of
Yes.
the best offering with the network across the world, right? Across the world, Reliance Jio is one of the top offering with respect to the network and with respect to the speed. But in India, there is no networking zone. You cannot say only with the networking zone it's possible, right? Reliance Jio has built their own networking solutions in their own places. Agree?
Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
like
we
that
are
is
we
what
are
exactly.
achieving things in our own way. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Because Reliance Jio has not just has built the infrastructure keeping the 4G and 5G in mind. Okay. So they did things from the scratch. Does it make
Okay.
sense?
Yep.
Perfect.
Well,
All
is
right.
Wavelength Zone is only for telecom company or just as an example you told?
That is for the telecom companies. Yeah, not just an example. That's I mean it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And if yours is a telecom based applications, okay, you can also use it. Okay, not just for the telecom companies. If yours is a telecom company or applications that are developed for the purpose of telecom companies, yes, they are also using it.
Okay. Thank you.
One of my friend works for one of the telecom company. Yeah, I got to know that there are some very nice applications. Even I never got an opportunity because that is very close, right? So unless until you work for a telecom company, you would never know that. But that's totally fine. Yeah, that is something that's recently introduced by Amazon. Okay, last 1 year. And a lot of people don't even know what is a local zone and what is availability zone. A lot of my students who got interviews, who got selected in last 3 to 5 months, they mentioned what is local zones or what is wavelength zone. They were being asked in the interview. So I want to make sure that you guys are up to the date. And in this training, we'll make sure whatever Amazon releases or whatever the new things that they mention, we'll try to convey in the trainings just to make sure we are up to the mark. Okay. So yeah, as I mentioned, today's agenda is to create a server. Okay, I don't think we can connect to the server, but let's try to create a server. As I mentioned, Amazon offers huge number of services and each and every service has a name. Based on what you want, you need to consume. If you want to create a server, you'll use a service called as EC2. If you want to create a database, you'll use a service called RDS. If you want to create just a application of Java-based application without running in server and installing Java, you can directly consume a platform as a service. Okay, so all of them are infrastructure as a service, and this is a PaaS offering, platform as a service. This is a PaaS offering. Okay, this is an example of infrastructure as a service. Amazon offers you infrastructure. Okay, you just do whatever you want. All right, so without any delay, let's get started. Okay, now I entered into the AWS. Okay, so I entered into the AWS application console. This we call it as a console. Okay. The beauty of this console is, okay, you need to go ahead and try to look at something. AWS Health. Okay, I'm interested about EC2. Click on EC2. EC2 stands for Elastic Cloud Compute, which is a virtual servers on cloud. Okay. And here is the dashboard, which says, okay, how many servers are there? How many load balancers are there? How many public IPs are you using? How many storage disks are you using? So everything that is related to the disk, everything that is related to the servers, you can see it here, and this is called as a dashboard. Okay. And usually in interviews, they'll ask you, how do you come to know that all the services on AWS Cloud are operating correctly or not? What if you're not able to connect to a service, or what if one of the services is not working? How do you come to know? Okay, so AWS offers a very nice dashboard. It's called as AWS Health Check dashboard. Okay, so which is going to demonstrate, okay, what all services are available, out of which how many services are good. Okay, and this information is updated just less than 1 minute ago. You can see there are no issues reported in Amazon. That means if in any particular zone of the region, if any EC2 service or RDS service or storage service is impacted, end of the day, Amazon is also maintaining servers, but in a most efficient way. Obviously, even they get errors, even they report errors. Okay, even before you come to know that there is an error, Amazon notifies you that there is some error. Okay, much fast their infrastructure is. Right now, there are no recent issues. Okay. For example, if you want to know the historic events, you can also know that. Okay. Amazon reports that there are no recent issues. Okay. And if Amazon is rolling out any feature or Amazon is trying to release any feature that is going to impact your application, even those things are going to be reported here. All right. And if you look at this, what are the events that are happened? So yeah, that is one important thing that you can see. Okay. So yeah, for example, open recent issues. So you come here and click this, not this service history. So recently in AWS in the North America, I think not recently, few months back, couple of months back, there is an issue with one of the service. Okay, so the name of the service is VPC, Virtual Private Cloud. Okay, there is an issue that is recently happened that has impacted one specific region. Okay, so you can find such issues here. Okay, whenever a service issue is there, okay, whenever it resolved, all these things you can find. But right now there are no issues to demonstrate though. Okay, so yeah, so you can find all the issues that are available. Now, I would like to create a server. Okay, now where can I create a server? I would like to create a server in Mumbai region. How can I create a server in Mumbai region? It's very simple. In AWS Cloud, if you want to create an infrastructure in one particular region, each and every company creates their infrastructure either in one or two regions. Not randomly today they'll create the infrastructure in Mumbai and day after tomorrow they'll create in Australia and day after tomorrow they create in North America. No. If your business is operating in India, you'll create infrastructure either in Mumbai or Hyderabad. And the costing varies from region to region because just like how the value of money and the value of the taxation and local law of the land, how it varies. If, for example, if creating the server and running it for 1 hour, if it costs you 10 rupees here, it might cost you $1 in states. Okay, it purely depends on where you are running. And when you compare everything, okay, these many regions are there. Okay, so US East 1, okay, US East 1, that means North Virginia. Ohio, US East. For example, Asia Pacific, Mumbai, and they termed it as AP South 1, Asia Pacific South 1. Similarly, for each and every region, okay, they have named it as an ID which specifies where exactly it is. In US, it is East 1, US East 2, US West 1, US West 2. Okay, so similarly, there are some other regions which you don't have access. I didn't enable it deliberately. Okay, by default, when you log in, you should be able to see all of these zones. Okay, so we are gonna create everything in US East 1. For example, if you wanna create, if yours is a business based out of California, so we're gonna select California. And if you wanna create any infrastructure, we can create the infrastructure here. Okay, so we're gonna choose one region and we're gonna stick to it throughout the class. Okay, now what I would like to do is I would like to create a server. Okay, so typically, if you wanna create a server in AWS Cloud, how much time? For example, if you want to install an operating system, typically how much time it takes? Anyone? How much time it takes to install an operating system? Anyone?
Minutes to 1 hour.
Okay. How much time does it take to install a Linux or Windows operating system? Anyone? Anyone? 30 to 40 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes. And the amount of time taken is also dependent, okay, on allocated resources. So for example, if you are installing an operating system on a server or a machine with 8 CPUs and 32 GB of RAM, the installation will be quick. If the same operating system, if you are installing on 2 CPUs and 8 GB of RAM, obviously less resources, more installation time. But what if I say on cloud, you can do you believe that? How many of you believe that? And when
Yes, I
Amazon
believe.
has introduced this concept, it was a miracle. Okay, When Amazon has introduced the concept of EC2, you can create the server in less than 1 minute. It was purely a miracle, including the Windows machines. You can even create the Windows machine. You can. Five minutes. Okay. How it's possible to create a server along with the operating system installation in less than 1 minute or less than 5 minutes is something we're going to see in tomorrow. Okay. And tomorrow's session is going to be very, very, very interesting. And I would like to bring to your attention one more time, the meeting link remains the same. Okay. So the meeting link, there won't be any changes in the meeting link. Meeting link remains the same. Okay. Session timing remains the same. Okay. So till further notice, there won't be any changes in the meeting schedule time or in the meeting link. I hope you like today's session, and we're going to meet tomorrow in the same session. Please attend the session and please practice them on a day-to-day basis. And we didn't get a chance to create a server. However, we are close to the clock. Okay. We'll see things in the tomorrow session, and meeting link remain the same, and we're going to meet tomorrow in the session. And that's for today. And with that note, I would like to stop the session, but I'm ready to take up the questions. Okay, I'm stopping the recording. If anyone has any questions, you can stay on and you can still post the questions.